In the field of physics, there was a very famous theory known as atomism, which was propounded by the Greeks, particularly Democrats, 23 centuries before. And according to this theory, the theory of atomism, atom is the smallest part of matter which cannot be divided. And in Arabic, the word for atom is zarra. And even zarra means a small part, a very minute part. And the Quran speaks about zarra. But now, after science is advanced, we have come to know that even though atom is the smallest part of matter, having the characteristic of the element, it too can be divided into protons, into neutrons, into electrons. So people may think the Quran speaks about zarra as the small part. Maybe the Quran is outdated. But Quran says in Surah Sabah, chapter number 34, verse number 3, and Surah Yunus, chapter number 10, verse number 61, that when they ask you that the hour will not come, tell them, it will surely come with the permission of the Lord, in whose record is the minutest detail of an atom, of zarra, and in whose record are things greater and smaller than atom. So Quran 1400 years ago says that there are things smaller and greater than atom. It says that atom is very minute, but further says that in the record of Almighty God are things smaller and greater than atom. So Quran is not outdated, it is up to date. In the field of hydrology, we learnt in school about the water cycle. And this water cycle was first described by Sir Bernard Palissy in the year 1580. And we learned in school that the water evaporates from the ocean. It forms into clouds. The clouds move into the interior and they fall down as rain, and the water table is replenished. Previously, in 7th century BC, Thales of Miletus, he said it was the spray of the ocean which was picked up by the wind which fell into the interior as rain. People did not know how did the underground water come, where did it come from. They thought it was the pressure of the wind on the water which thrust the water into the interior, and it went till it was propounded by Pluto that the secret passage by which the water went, it was called as Tartarus. And this was believed till as late as 17th century even by Descartes. And 4th century Aristotle believed that the water which was there underground in the spring, it was due to the condensation of water in mountain caverns which fed the springs. Today we know that the underground water we have is due to the seepage of the rainwater in the cracks in the ground. It's mentioned in the Quran in Surah Az-Zumar, chapter number 39, verse number 21, that seest thou not, it is he who sends down water from the sky and leads it in cracks in ground and causes sown field of varying colors to grow. It's mentioned in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 24. It is he who sends down water from the sky and gives life to the earth after it is dead. It's mentioned in the Quran in Surah Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 18. It is we who send down water from the sky. We are able to store it or we are able to drain it. It's mentioned in the Quran in Surah Hijr, chapter 15, verse number 22. It says that we cause fecundating winds. The Arabic word used is lawaki, coming from the Arabic word laka. It means to fecundate. And today science tells us that the pollen, which is carried by the wind, they fecundate the clouds. They impregnate the clouds from which the water falls. The other reason is that the clouds join together and then you see water emerging from the sky. Quran mentioned 14 years ago that we cause fecundating winds. The Quran says in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 48, that we cause the water to evaporate from the sky, then form into clouds, the clouds move to the interior, and talks about the water cycle. Quran says in Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 43, that we cause the clouds to join, then make it into a heap, and then water emerges from the top. The Quran speaks about the water cycle in great detail in several verses. Besides all these verses I spoke, It is mentioned also about the water cycle in Surah Araf, chapter number 7, verse number 57. In Surah Ra'd, chapter number 13, verse number 17. In Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 40 and 49. It's mentioned in Surah Fatir, chapter number 35, verse number 9. It's mentioned in Surah Yasin, chapter number 36, verse number 34. It's mentioned in Surah Ghashiyah, chapter number 45, verse number 5. It's mentioned in Surah Qaf, chapter number 50, verse number 9 and 10. It's mentioned in Surah Waqia, chapter number 56, verse number 60 to 70. It's mentioned in Surah Mulk, chapter number 67, verse number 30. It's mentioned in Surah Tariq, chapter number 86, verse number 11. I can go on and on giving only references in the Quran which speak about the water cycle. Who could have mentioned about this water cycle in so much great detail, which was discovered in 1580? Hardly 450 years back, what we came to know is mentioned in the Quran 1450 years before. Who could have mentioned this? The Quran also speaks about geology. Today the geologists, they tell us that the earth on which we live, the radius is about 3,750 miles. And the deeper layers, they are hot and they are fluid, and they cannot sustain life. The upper layers are solid, and the superficial layer is about 1 to 30 miles in thickness, and it is a very thin crust. And there are high chances that this superficial layer, it will shake. Today science tells us it is the mountain ranges which give stability to the earth on which we live. Quran says in Surah Naba, chapter number 78, verse number 6 and 7, that we have made the earth as an expanse, wal jabala autada, and the mountains as stakes. The Arabic word used here is autad, meaning stakes, meaning tent pegs. You know, when we put a tent peg into the ground, the portion that we see above the head is very small. The major portion goes deep underground. So Quran says we have made the mountains as stakes, as tent pegs. Quran says in Surah Ghashiyah, chapter number 88, verse number 19, as well as Surah Naziyah, chapter number 79, verse number 32, that we have placed on the earth mountains standing firm. Today, most of the universities that teach about geology, they refer to a main book called as The Earth. One of its authors, his name is Dr. Frank Press, who was previously the president of the Academy of Sciences of USA and was also previously the science advisor to the ex-president of USA, Jimmy Carter. And he draws mountains in the book, The Earth, and he shows that the mountain has got roots, wedge shape, deep underground. And he writes there that the main function of the mountain is to prevent the earth from shaking. And this is exactly what the Quran says in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 31, and Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 15, that we have placed on the earth mountain standing firm, lest it would shake with you. Quran mentions clearly 1400 years ago that the function of the mountain is to prevent the earth from shaking, which Dr. Frank Press writes recently, 40 years back, 50 years back. Who could have mentioned this in the Quran? In the field of oceanology, Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 53, that it is He who has let free two bodies of flowing water, one sweet and palatable, and the other salty and bitter. Though they meet, they do not mix. There is a barrier which is forbidden to be trespassed. The same message repeated. It's mentioned in Surah Rahman, chapter number 55, verse number 19 and 20. Marajal bahraini yaltaqiyan bainahuma barzakh la yabghiyan. It is Allah who has let free two bodies of flowing water. Though they meet, they do not mix. There is a barrier which is forbidden to be trespassed. Previously, the commentators of the Quran, they used to wonder what does this verse mean. We know that there are two types of water, one is sweet and the other is salty. But what does the Quran mean by saying that though these two types of water meet, they do not mix, there is a barrier between them? Today, after science advance, we have come to know that whenever one type of water flows into the other type of water, it loses its constituents and gets homogenized into the water it flows. And they call this as the homogenizing area. which the Quran refers to as barzakh, the unseen barrier. And we can see this phenomena in the southernmost tip of South Africa, in the Cape Point or Cape of Good Hope, where we find the two waters meeting. We can even see the different colors of these two waters. We can even see in Egypt when River Nile flows into the Mediterranean Sea. And one of the good examples is the Gulf Stream. It starts from the Gulf of Mexico, then goes northwards, then goes to the east, goes to Europe. It flows for thousands of miles. And if you're traveling in a boat and pick up water from one side of the boat and pick up water from the other side, you will find that one is sweet and the other is salty. Even the temperature between these two waters, it differs. Imagine Quran speaks about this unseen barrier 1400 years ago. In the field of biology, the Quran says in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. We have created every living thing from water. Will you not then believe? Imagine in the deserts of Arabia, 1400 years ago, the Quran is saying every living thing is created from water. Who would have believed in it? In the deserts of Arabia, where there was scarcity of water, who would have believed in the Quran that every living thing is made from water? Today, after science advance, we have come to know that every living creature, its basic is the cell. And the major portion of cell is the cytoplasm, which is approximately 80% water. And today science tells us that 50 to 90% of all living creatures, they are made of water. The Quran says in Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 45, we have created every animal from water. The Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse 54, we have created every human being from water. Who could have mentioned this in the Quran? The atheist cannot say it is true. You know why? There is something called as theory of probability. In mathematics, there is something called as theory of probability. That means, if I toss a coin, and if I ask you, is it head or tail? The chances you will be right is 1 upon 2. Because there are two options, and you make a wild guess. The chances you will be correct is 1 upon 2, it is 50%. If I toss a coin twice, and the chances I will be right both the times is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 2, it is 50% or 50%, it is 1 upon 4, it is 25%. If I toss a coin thrice, and the chances will be correct all 3 times, is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 2, it is 50% or 50% or 50%, it is 1 upon 8, it is 12.5%. This is called as theory of probability. If I throw a dice has got 6 options, has got 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you make a wild guess, the chances that you will be correct is 1 upon 6. Correct? If you throw the dice twice, and the chances you will be correct both the times is 1 upon 6 into 1 upon 6 is 1 upon 36. Now let us put this theory of probability to what we have been discussing now. Suppose if you asked that what is the shape of the earth, and the chances someone makes a wild guess, you can think of maybe 10 shapes. It can be flat, it can be square, it can be rectangular, it can be triangular, 10 shapes, it can be spherical. The chances if you make a wild guess and it comes right is 1 upon 10. If I ask the light of the moon, is it its own light or reflected light? There are 2 options, the own light or reflected light. The chances if you make a wild guess, it will be correct is 1 upon 2, it is 50%. The chances that both will be correct, the shape of the earth and the light of the moon is reflected light, is 1 upon 10 into 1 upon 2 is 1 upon 20, it is 5%. That means 20 guesses you make, chances will be right is 1. If I ask, what are the living creatures made up of? In the deserts of Arabia, you can think of 1,000 things. Sand, stone, brick, wood. Last you think of water. So if you can think 1,000 things what the living creatures are made of, the chances will be right is 1 upon 1,000. The chances that will be right all the 3 times. The shape of the earth is spherical and the light of the moon is reflected. and every living thing is made of water is 1 upon 10 into 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 1000 is 1 upon 20,000. 1 upon 20,000 is 0.005%. In 3 things only, in 3 scientific facts, the answer has come to 0.005%. And mathematics tells us that anything 10 raised to negative 50, the answer is 0. The few things that I've already mentioned, more than 10 things I've mentioned now. If you put this to theory of probability, it will be 0.0000000, and when will the 1 come, I don't know. It is 0. So the chances that it's a wild guess and all of them coming correct is 0. Theory of probability. And there are many more. This is just a few I've mentioned. There are many more to come. Quran says about botany. Previously we did not know that even the plants have got sexes, male or female. Quran says in Surah Taha chapter number 20 verse number 53, it is we who have sent down water from the sky and with it brought diverse pairs of plants. The Arabic word is azwaj. Azwaj means spouses, meaning pairs, male and female. So Quran says even the plants have got sexes, male and female. The Quran says in Surah Ra'd chapter number 13 verse number 3, we have created every kind of fruit in pairs. The Quran says in Surah Yasin chapter number 36 verse number 36 that we have created everything what the human beings know and what they don't know into pairs. Means we have created everything in pairs, the things the human beings know and the things which human beings don't know. We have come to know even a phenomena like electricity. There is a plus and a negative, a positive charge and negative charge, electron and a proton, talking about the atom. So the Quran says that we have created everything in pairs, even what the human beings know and what the human beings don't know. Slowly we are coming to know. First we thought only the human beings have sexes, male and female. Then we came to know animals, then we came to know plants, now we come to know electricity. Everything that has been created, the Quran says, we have made it into pairs, 2 and 2. Things which we don't know and things which we know. In the field of zoology, the Quran says in Surah Anam chapter number 6 verse number 38 that it is He who has created every animal that walks on the earth and every bird that flies in the air to live in communities like the human beings. Today science tells us that the animals and the birds, they live in communities like the human beings. Quran says in Surah Nahl chapter number 16 verse number 60 and 69 that it is He who has taught the bees to build its homes, its cells, in human habitations, in trees and on hills, and to find the spacious path of thy Lord with great skill. What does the Quran mean by saying that He has taught the bee to find the spacious path of thy Lord with great skill? It was in 1973 that Sir Fawn Fresh, he got the Nobel Prize for describing the behavior of the bee. And he said that whenever a bee finds a new flower or a new garden, it goes and tells its fellow bee the exact direction of the new garden or the new flower by a process known as the bee dance. And Quran mentioned this 14 years ago, which we came to know hardly 45 years back. Quran, even in Surah Nahl chapter 16 verse 68 and 69, uses the gender for the worker bee as female, as fasluki or kulli. Previously we thought that the worker bee was a male bee. That's the reason Shakespeare, in his play Henry IV, he mentions that the male bees, the soldiers, they work and they report to the king. Today science tells us that it is not the male bee which is the worker bee, it is the female bee. And they don't report to the king, they report to the queen. Imagine, 1400 years ago, the Quran even specifies the gender of the worker bee as being feminine. Quran says in Surah Ankabut, chapter number 29, verse number 41, that as to those who take for protectors anyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Almighty God, they build for themselves houses like that of the spider. Verily, the house of the spider is fragile. Quran says all those who take for protectors anyone besides Almighty God, they build for themselves houses like the spider, and we know that the web of the spider is fragile, is very weak. Besides talking about the delicate nature of the web of the spider, it even speaks about the physical nature. Today science tells us that many a time the female spider kills the male spider and is called as a black widow. The Quran says, those who take for protectors anyone besides Almighty God, build for themselves houses like the spider. Besides being fragile, it talks about the delicate nature of the family relationship in which the female spider kills the male spider. Quran says in Surah Namal chapter number 27 verse number 17 and 18 that when Solomon and his host of men, jinns, birds, when they walked and when they approached a lowly valley of ants, one of the ants said, O ye ants, get into the habitations, lest Solomon and his army unknowingly will trample you beneath the feet. People may think, what kind of a fairy tale book is the Quran? The ants talking among themselves? It sounds like a fairy tale book. Today, after science advance, we have come to know that the animal or insect which has the closest resemblance to that of a human being, it is the ant. The ant buries the dead the same way as the human beings do. They have a sophisticated method of labor, where they have a manager, they have a supervisor, they have a foreman, they have a worker. They have a sophisticated method of communication. They very often meet to chat. They even have marketplaces where they exchange goods. You know, we have souk, marketplaces. They have marketplaces where they exchange goods. And if the ants store the grain, and if the grain begins to bud, the ants chop the bud as though they knew that budding will cause the rotting of the grain. And if the grain gets wet in the rainy season, the ant takes the grain in the sunlight to dry as though it knew that humidity will cause the rotting of the grain. When I was a kid, when I used to see these ants carrying the grain in sunlight, I used to wonder where they are going. Now I have come to know that the ants are going in the sunlight, not taking the grain to dry, as though they knew that humidity will cause the rotting of the grain.